This is the second part of I Shall Master This Family, and if you are interested in checking out the first part, it is on the channel. Chapter 8. Viese comes in with the proposal of Sir Croyton from Durac Guild to sell textiles that are only distributed in the eastern region of the capital, as they are having a tough time coping with their long-distance delivery while taking out a generous amount of loan at the same time. Even though Sir Croyton swears to keep up with his family's worth, but Claravan gets suspicious of their business tradition despite Sir Croyton belonging to the Empress's family. Knowing that the Lombardi family will have to bear all the consequences, Claravan thinks to himself for the fact that there is no chance that the patriarch of the family will agree with the proposal. But for some reason, the patriarch decides to leave all of the responsibility to Viese, which gets Claravan in a tough situation. So he makes a proposal to examine all of the logistics of the matter. Viese tries to divert the situation without thinking of the consequences, thinking that he will be favored by the Empress's family. But the patriarch agrees with Claravan in his decision. When Viese moves on with Sir Croyton, Claravan brings up the topic, which makes the patriarch talk about the decision being forwarded by Miss Shannonette. But Claravan refuses to think about the situation, as Shannonette is too wise to make a hasty decision like that. The whole situation makes the patriarch rethink the situation about his three sons, as it is about to get troublesome knowing that the only person who could lead the whole family is none other than Shannonette, the wife of Vestian Schultz. The patriarch marks the proposition as a test of its own, as Ferentia's evaluation gave them a new idea to think in various ways. Meanwhile, Ferentia reaches the location of her teaching session under the guidance of Claravan, where she notices Belzac, Mayron, Gillieu, and Lorraine, and all of them are flabbergasted to meet her there. As soon as she makes her entrance, Belzac reacts in anger despite her having the permission of the patriarch, while Gillieu and Mayron both are acting differently, as she has beaten Belzac on her own. As the kids start to make a ruckus around the room, Claravan enters the room with his lecture materials to begin the new session of their lesson. Chapter 9. Mayron and Gillieu both are glued to Ferentia for some reason, even though none of them had any interest in her for being Miss Shannonette's sons in her previous life. Ferentia starts to feel anxious about the whole situation, as the new situation is too much for her to handle. While Belzac is snoring on the couch behind them, Claravan continues to teach the studying materials to the kids without even disciplining him as if he doesn't exist. Suddenly, Claravan smiles at Ferentia as she is attentive to the class, knowing that the whole situation will be reported back to the patriarch. Soon the class ends, and Claravan announces that they all will have some assignment to work on, as the due date is next week before the next class. They are presented with a log, and it seems that all of them will have to sell the log and receive payment to finish the assignment, while the methods they choose will be noted down. Lorraine is different as ever, which makes her so incomparable to Belzac, who is her blood-related brother. Belzac calls the assignment a foolish task, which gets him a failing mark while everyone else waits to get an award to the one who is about to receive the largest sum. While Mayron and Gillieu start poking Ferentia to move on, she is too concerned about the matter on hand, which makes her think of a tree in the end. Claravan realizes that Ferentia has already found the answer to the assignment, and makes Claravan sigh of relief, knowing that there is somebody in the Lombardi family who has the answer to every question that is about to arise someday. Chapter 10. In excitement, Ferentia meets her father Gallahan, who was making sketches for some dresses, and asks him for a single drawing to finish her task. While Gallahan thought of some cute flowers, Ferentia asks for a sketch of her grandmother's face, wanting to see her natural smile, as she is precious to her father. Gallahan finishes the sketch mesmerizingly, and Ferentia runs off into the distance with the sketch while her father worries about her tripping on the ground. But for some reason, she ends up tripping on the ground, making her feel that her father is somehow able to foresee the future, and reaches the village right outside of the Lombardi mansion looking for someone that will be a skillful worker. As time goes on, she ends up meeting Alfeo Jean, who is a genius sculptor launching his career in his 30s while reaching the deep well in the village. Alfeo is the same person who created the world tree, symbolizing the Lombardi family, all on his own in her previous life. She couldn't help but wonder how she was able to find out Alfeo Jean this easily while representing her as Ferentia to him. As soon as Alfeo realizes that she must be someone royalty, he starts to apologize to her. Somehow, she manages to diffuse the situation by telling him about her need for his skillful work, asking if he can manage to sculpt a person's face or not. Chapter 11. Alfeo clarifies that doing something is truly hectic for someone like him, but she realizes that it must be quite troublesome for Alfeo to meet the deadline as he hasn't reached the level of expertise yet. But luck is on her side when Alfeo claims that he will be able to make it come true in 4 days, which is enough for her to finish the assignment. Ferentia hands him the sketch of her grandmother, claiming that she is about to present the material to someone close to her, while promising to compensate him at the same time. Ferentia clarifies that she is a Lombardi, and she takes pride in making fair transactions. For that reason, she will be the one paying him fair and square as he achieved the skill by himself after going a far way with his time and hard work. Alfeo promises to do his best, which leaves them both with only the trouble of carrying the log that he is about to work on, since Ferentia isn't that capable of doing that sort of task. Back in the mansion, Shannonette's duo starts to annoy Ferentia once again while she is busy reading books, which makes her claim that she will be playing with them after she finishes reading her books. Both of them get excited to see her promise, which makes them leave the room she is in, but they come back once again tomorrow to force her to play with them. The duo is strangely clinging on to her, not knowing the reason behind it, while she reminisces about the past when both of them acted as if they had no relations to the Schultz family in the end. As she dives down into the thought of Shannonette and Vestian Schultz's divorce, even though Vestian went as far as throwing away his own family name for his love of life. Suddenly, Galahad barges into her room, claiming that he has finished the new book, despite having any kind of prior education in his whole life. Even though he had no miraculous outcome out of his hobby, he always enjoyed and seemed happy regardless of the outcomes. It seems that the book is about his beloved daughter's dress for the debutante ball, which is full of memories from when he wrote the book for when his daughter comes of age and starts wearing grown-up dresses. Even though it is normal for the mothers to arrange debutante dresses, Galahad is ready to take care of it for his beloved daughter. In her previous life, when her father died, none of the nobles sent her an invitation to attend the debutante banquet, as if she didn't even exist in the family in the first place while she focused on gaining knowledge. Knowing the end result of her previous life, Ferentia promises herself that this time it will all be different, and ends up embracing her father with tearful eyes, hoping that he will witness her debut and join the banquet wearing the dress that he will pick up holding his hand. But in order to be able to do that, she will need to complete the task at hand as the carriage from the village finally reaches the mansion. Chapter 12. Sir Croyton reaches the mansion with the textile materials which are about to be distributed by the Lombardi family, and Claravan starts to check out the material of all of the presented textiles. Viese starts to act high and mighty in front of Claravan, providing more details than needed, while the patriarch realizes the situation presented to the family. Even though his actions might get him close to the Empress, the family will have to bear the consequences if his plans fail to distribute the whole material in the region. Before the patriarch is about to comment something, Ferentia presents herself in front of the crowd, asking about the textile materials surprisingly. The grandfather gets excited to meet his granddaughter all of a sudden, realizing that she has heard his voice way over from the mansion, and starts explaining the whole situation to her, despite her capabilities of catching on to the matter at her age. Ferentia realizes that Viese's plan is about to make the whole family fall on the ground, as he is excited to get into the business without knowing about its demand and profit. Since she has already lived through the past, Ferentia knows all about the consequences the business is about to get them, as they were previously laughed at by the merchants for a while. While Ferentia gets excited to touch the material, Galahad reaches the location while catching his breath, and the situation starts to unfold in front of him as Ferentia calls out to her father. Galahad tries to move on with his daughter from the place, but Ferentia diverts his mind onto the textile materials in front of him to make him detect the quality of the materials. Somehow the trick doesn't work on Galahad, but the patriarch asks for his suggestions on the textile, which makes him blabber the truth behind the material's backstory and trend. When he starts insisting according to his knowledge, Sir Croyton gets anxious and starts sweating unbearably to listen to the answer which he wanted to hear. He then soon realizes that he was fooled by the fellow genius he was talking about from the beginning, and after seeing the desperation on Croyton's face, Gallahan suggests a way out of the situation by suggesting mixing the material with flannel while manufacturing the fabric. After listening to Gallahan, Sir Croydon gets some hope, hoping that he will be able to get out of the trouble. And after some time, Claravan comes in to suggest his ideas on the issue arising in front of him. Just as Gallahan is about to leave the place, the Patriarch suggests him to take over the business, knowing that he will be a suitable advisor for Sir Croydon, and Croydon is happy about it as well. When Ferentia insists his father listen to the Patriarch, it gives Ferentia hope that her father will be mentioned in the invitation to the palace, where she will be able to meet the second prince, Perez Brivachau Durelli. Chapter 13. Alfeo wraps up the woodwork that was bestowed on him by Ferentia herself, and she is quite pleased with Alfeo at the same time as it is quite perfect in her eyes. As soon as she took a look at the sculpture, she got excited to look forward to fulfilling the assignment, while Alfeo is quite pleased to get the task done at the same time for the fact that she was able to believe in him. While working on the sculpture for Ferentia, he realized that working as a carpenter is fun, as he was commissioned well by her. He hopes that someday he will be able to make a name as a great carpenter and make his living at the same time, so he is quite grateful to Ferentia for the opportunity. As soon as Ferentia hands him the bag of silver coins, but not only Alfeo was pleased by the situation, Ferentia herself is proud of the fact that she is now successful at bringing the same Jean, who worked on the tree of the Lombardi family that held another meaning behind the word beauty. Ferentia ends up asking if he would practice sculpting every day if he wanted to, and she makes him realize that she is about to make him get the greatest opportunity of his lifetime. Ferentia reminisces about the forest of evergreens that Viese had removed, and the fact that her grandmother enjoyed walking with her grandfather along the path of the evergreens continued to pain her. She remembers that even after she had passed, the Patriarch continued to follow the routine even when he lost his eyesight properly and his legs couldn't work anymore. While thinking about all these things, her grandfather makes his entrance in front of her, and she immediately instructs him to follow her way. Just as soon as he takes a glance at the sculpture of his own beloved wife, Natalia, Ferentia announces the gift to him while he is still flabbergasted by the beauty of the sculpture. As the man who lost his eyesight later in his life, Ferentia felt quite the peace after being able to get an opportunity to take a look at his dead wife's face once again. The grandfather speaks out claiming that gifts are given without the expectation of compensation, and it presented the fact that he knew what her purpose was. But she claims that she only wanted to see her grandfather happy in return, knowing that she can succeed in class another time, as the purpose of class itself is to elect the next family head after all, which will need the Patriarch's permission in the end. When the Patriarch allows her to ask for something from her in return, instead of asking for money, Ferentia introduces her friend Alfeo Jean, who carved the statue for him, knowing that she cannot let go of the opportunity right now. When the results of the assignment came in, Lorraine, Mayron, and Gilliu all did something, but Ferentia sat on the couch with a great smile on her face and empty hands. It seems in exchange for her love to her grandfather, she was given quite a precious piece of jewelry that gets Belzac in the opposite situation of what he had in his previous life. Chapter 14. The class ends abruptly, and Ferentia decides to praise Lorraine heavily for her skills, which makes Lorraine truly happy, as she didn't expect to get praised by someone for having such a genius mind. It seems that in their previous life, she was married off to some old noble by the Empress, and in the end, she withered away because of her husband's negligence and the servants' maltreatment. Soon, even the relatives turned their back on her, which made her fade away quite quickly as time passed. She soon passed away in her husband's estate, far away from the Lombardis, while she didn't even wish to leave the family as a child. Ferentia asks to be friends with Lorraine, and she agrees, not even thinking about the whole situation twice as the opportunity came. All of the Lombardi siblings get together to have a meeting with the Patriarch, and Gallahan seems rather anxious as he was given the task of handling the new business, while the younger brother gets excited about the new business upon being informed. Viese gets agitated after listening to Gallahan's praises, while Gallahan continues to apologize to his brother continuously. When Gallahan tries to act humble, Viese starts harassing Gallahan by holding onto his collar, but their sister diffuses the situation by shouting at Viese. Visa then leaves the room ashamed of the incident, and their sister calls Gallahan a coward for not standing up for himself. She advises him to be brave and strong for the sake of his child, while Ferentia plays hide-and-seek with the duo. While she is sitting inside the evergreen forest, she takes a glance at a noble child guest, thinking that he must have lost his way, as he is not supposed to be in there. As she is about to leave the place, the child calls her a stumpy one, while claiming that she has to help him to get his grace. Chapter 15. The Empress gets to know about the situation regarding Gallahan in the textile business for being informative about the whole business. The Imperial Majesty couldn't help but wonder how her man pointed out the fact that the younger brother is better than the older one in the business. While thinking about the Lombardi family situation, she reminisces how her dear son has a younger brother as well, with eyes that are as red as a rose. Insisting to know about the Lombardi family, the Empress continues to ask about the whole family members. She gets pleased to know that Gallahan has a beauty of a daughter, as her son Astana just happened to go to the Lombardis to see Viese's son the same day, and she is curious to know about his choice of female companion. When Astana orders Ferentia to act as his guide, she instantly refuses to do so, as he wanted her to pick up his hat for no reason. As soon as she starts to think about the boy's behavior is quite similar to Belizak, she quickly realizes who the person is in front of him and grasps the fact that the person standing in front of her is indeed the person who ruined the Lombardi family, Astana Nerempe Durelli. While Astana continues to act like a grumpy rich child, his hat continues to fly away from them, while Ferentia refuses to act as his servant again and again while leaving the place. The servants come running to Astana as he gets mad at Ferentia for her behavior and calls in the knights, as he is the successor of the empire. Astana couldn't grasp the fact why someone from the Lombardi family would refuse him in front of his face, while Mayron and Giulio starts arguing with each other about Ferentia seeing the both of them hide. While they all get on playing hide-and-seek, the knights keep searching for her in the whole mansion, which gets noticed by Mayron and Giulio as well. Ferentia quickly realizes the situation as she grasps the fact that the prince has unleashed the knights into the Lombardi mansion as soon as the knights notice her. Chapter 16. It seems that there was a pact between the imperial family and the Lombardi family, claiming that the Empress cannot bring armed men inside the Lombardi mansion. But now the pact is broken by the prince, who is only 10 years old. Ferentia runs off with Mayron, and Giulio, not realizing what is happening, to reach their grandfather's chamber, and just before she is about to open the door to her grandfather's chamber, she is met with Astana and his servants, while even the emperor has to be wary of the head of the Lombardi estate. Astana orders Ferentia to bow down to him, which makes the duo react, as they aren't about to let anything happen like that. When Astana orders the knight against them, Ferentia dares him not to touch them, announcing the protocol between the families. As soon as Ferentia notices her grandfather, she starts crying, which makes the patriarch, while Shanayet clears the way to meet her sons. Shanayet seems thankful to Ferentia for saving her kids, while the patriarch faces the first prince by himself, calling him on his failure. The patriarch makes it quite clear that it wasn't Astana's father Giovannes who called in the proposal, but the first emperor Romatilli Durelli, who agreed to the pact with Benox Lombardi. He makes all of the servants apologize to him for not educating the child enough. All of them decide to move on after being ashamed by the whole Lombardi family head, while Ferentia gets her head down, thinking that she is about to get scolded by her grandfather as soon as he calls out to her. Chapter 17. But instead of getting scolded by the patriarch, he pats her head for not listening to the prince's demands, pointing out the fact that she should always act like a Lombardi, even in front of the imperial family. After knowing about the incident, Gallahan runs off to his daughter as soon as he finishes his work and meets his sister Shanayet, who is busy taking care of sleeping Ferentia with the servant. Shanayet seems quite excited to talk to Gallahan about the matter of his daughter, which seems quite important to her, as Ferentia is quite young at this time. It seems that Shanayet knows already for the fact that Gallahan is already thinking about quitting his job to be with his daughter, which makes her call him weak. Then she begins recalling the fact that their father will not be healthy as always, which will get him into a tough situation since Viese is quite greedy for wealth. Shanayet makes it quite clear that Viese will not think about his daughter twice if the patriarch gets down from his seat as the family head knowing that he wants to get closer to the imperial family, which will then risk Ferentia's future. Shanayet advises him to gain more and more strength while the patriarch is still alive, while she herself decides to take care of Ferentia from then on, so he can move on with his position. That night, Gallahan promises to save his daughter from any situation that is about to arise in the future, while Astana meets the wrath of his mother announcing that he should be visiting the Lombardi family with a gift of apology. At the same time, the Imperial Majesty makes him listen to her planning of his future, which will make everything easier around him as soon as he reaches the highest position in the Empire, stating that she shouldn't be forgetting the incident that happened this day, as Ferentia decided to be rude with him for once. Chapter 18. Days move on quite quickly as Ferentia keeps getting used to the Lombardi family's techniques, but she still couldn't forget the fact that she used to be in the toughest situation in the Lombardi family for being a half-blood. One day, Lorraine ends up asking her about her choice of color and prepares to meet her in the next class as soon as she hears red out of Ferentia's mouth. While the duo was busy playing with her hair, Ferentia couldn't help but wonder why Lorraine asked something so out of the ordinary like that. When Gallahan asks Ferentia about the gift on her upcoming birthday, she elaborates that she would like a huge teddy bear, even though she hates, and it quickly gets pointed out by the father. Suddenly, her father ends up suggesting her a horse, claiming that she could raise it with care and love. Gallahan is quite excited to ride a horse next to his daughter when she reaches the proper age, but she decides to avoid the situation by creating a huge melodrama about a mother and children. But the plan fails miserably when Gallahan decides to buy the pair of horses together so the horses wouldn't be separated from the family. Gallahan continues to work incredibly hard with the patriarch while producing the best fabrics possible for the aristocrats as they reach a bumping road on their way to make an example of the clothing used. But it seems that Ferentia once again has a good idea to make use of the situation. Chapter 19. The Lombardi and the Aeginas families have formed an alliance that gets all of the nobles to be in high hopes, claiming that their formation will be brilliant since they are both in the textile business. But the impressive results provided by the Lombardi family continue to make Viese mad, since he still thinks that he is the one who should have deserved all the praise. When his own anger and greed weren't enough, his wife Salal comes in to suggest to him a better idea to make him work on everything to achieve something in his life, instead of getting mad at the current situation to make a fool out of himself. His wife Salal suggests he should make use of the situation to consider the incident as an opportunity to start an even better business venture with the Angenises, as he is still carrying the Lombardi name, claiming the high society as always. While the patriarch and Gallahan are busy discussing the business, Ferentia ruins the piece of cloth by using the tea, which gets them the idea that Ferentia wanted to make use of it as it was her target from the beginning. But still, the situation doesn't come to a solution knowing that the people who didn't use the material wouldn't be able to make use of it if they haven't used the material beforehand. When Ferentia sets the example in front of them, clarifying the whole situation regarding the material and everything, by presenting the idea of trying in advance, the patriarch instantly realizes that it must be the case and suggests Gallahan point out the main consumers among the aristocrats and give them a prototype as a gift so they can test them out, as there isn't much time left until the sale starts. Ferentia suggests they should make handkerchiefs out of the materials, while claiming that she wants to make some for Mayrin and Giliu, which gets praised by the patriarch. Not only that, but also, Gallahan decides to add some designs on each of them to attract customers, which gives Ferentia the hope that her father is truly about to succeed. When Gallahan goes on his way, the patriarch decides to have dinner with his granddaughter, and she tastes the most exquisite meat cooked by her grandfather's personal chef for the first time, which leaves her in awe. While both of them are eating, the patriarch brings up the fact that she wanted to get anything for her upcoming birthday, and he makes a suggestion for her to get a library, knowing how much she loves books, which seems too much for Ferentia. Not only that, but also, the library will be used by Ferentia personally, which is her only wish to include with it. But it seems that Ferentia seems to have another wish to be fulfilled by her grandfather, which she is about to ask, and it is about to change their future quite surprisingly. Thanks for staying with us this whole time. This will be all for today, and if you want to support the channel just like Mayron and Jiliu, who stays with Ferentia all the time, click on the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. See you again next time.